the book is really good, then we always like to give a little extra time for people to join in. And today we want to give a little extra time because it's a very, very special book. But before that, just very quickly, just want to remind you and let you know where you are. You've landed up at the game of facts. And this is not an average, if you're coming here for the first time, it's not your average general knowledge quiz. It's a game really to test whether you use your biases when you look at very simple issues in life. Do you have some preconceived notions that come in the way of your thinking? And are you really observing what is happening around you? That's really, really what this is all about. So it's not like you need to read the papers all the time or need to read some very special books or anything of that sort. That's really what we're doing. And we've been gaming since 2020. And the challenge that we have in front of us is that we're all so dumbed down because of social media and because of WhatsApp University and because of all of those kind of things that we really don't know how to separate opinions from facts, what's the truth from what is being pushed down, what is the difference between misinformation and disinformation. And what we're trying to do is in a fun way, in a positive way, trying to build this whole movement of people who are interested in facts and numbers and exciting things like that. So yes, this is my little book collection. Ananya, if you want to know, these are books that basically I've collected like over the years. So, I just love books, and I really think that, when you read books, you just get more and more curious, right? And when you get more curious, you generally have a very open mind because you know that, some things that you had in mind are not exactly the way it is, right? I mean, age teaches us that, but books is a much faster way really to get to that realization. So yes, this is my book collection, and I'm very happy to share books, by the way, with any of you. If any of you see a book behind me that you like, please let me know and send me your address, and I'm very happy to share it with you. But this book that we're giving to you today is one that I do not have here, and I really, really enjoy this writer very much. His name is Jerry Pinto. He's a typical Bombay boy. And his book that I read earlier is called M in the Big Home. It's a very, very personal book, which Jerry actually writes about in such a funny way that you, somewhere in the middle of the book, you forget that he's actually telling an account of a very, very sad family sort of matter and something to do with his mother, which is extremely heartbreaking in so many ways. And he just uses humor and it's wit, it's honesty, it's sincerity to the woman he loves, his mother, and also to his craft, which is writing, which he brings in that book. And he's written this book called The Education of Yuri, which is about this character called Yuri Fonseca, who's from Mahim. Now, if you're from Bombay and you probably are familiar with where Mahim is. Mahim's a very strange place because it neither falls in the suburbs nor is it in the South Bombay, which is like the very cool place to be. It's kind of in the middle. So those who live in Mahim probably have this tinge of regret, like, oh gosh, I wish I were just either closer to Bandra, which is cool, or closer to South Bombay, which is even cooler. And I think the significance of the place that he's from and also his own story is just so much more interesting. And for a change, this is a book about adolescents. One of the issues that we see a lot, especially in this country, and I'm sure some of you have gone through it, is that adolescents really don't have a place here. You're either too small or you're too big. People look at you then, but those years, you're just kind of lost. And I don't think, unlike in the West, there really has been enough of young adult literature or stories or, so I think in some ways this book kind of fits that gap as well. It's about a 15-year-old boy called Yuri Fonseca. It's about this place which is not really the coolest, a boy who's not really the coolest, and it's kind of his story. So I'm speaking a little more about this book because I'm so envious that 3 of you are going to read it today, or rather whenever we send it, 3 of you are going to win it. And I really hope to have this book in my bookshelf as well. So with that, the rules are very simple. You need to log into kahoot.it. The game pin is out there in the chat box. And the first 3 questions are poll questions. It's just for us to get your opinion on things, just to know where you stand and also get you a little comfortable with the format. And then we get into the 10 questions. The 10 questions, very standard. A few true or false. There's just one puzzle question, which I bunged in the middle somewhere. And then we have a few multiple choice questions. It's 10. Immediately after that, I'll barely turn off my camera and Meenal will come on with her set of 10 questions. So it's as simple as that. Sit back, enjoy, relax. This is going to be fun. And, the comfort of having this quiz is that in the middle, if something goes wrong, or you have a question, or you want to know something, put that in the chat box. Rupesh is there, Meenal's there. We're all there to sort of answer and address any queries you may have. I wanted to make a special call out to Shweta. She, I think, was there in the last quiz, and she found a little mistake that happened. And please just, if you see something that is not, we're all human. We make mistakes sometimes. Sometimes I leave the quiz right to the end because I want to put really fresh questions in. So if you see any mistake or something doesn't make sense to you, just fire away and ask, and we will make sure we give you an explanation or an answer. You will get the sources to the questions. You will get the explanation. All of this is government data. So really, if you don't believe us, you can actually go and check it and see it for yourself. Okay, so welcome everyone. And I'm now going to share my screen and we'll take you to where the quiz and the action ready is. Krish, Paras, Vinod, Anu, Mayur, the Chabras, Dipankar, Dhruv, Aniket, Pushpa, Adya, Pratham, Aditi, Parisha. I hope it's your lucky day. Bharat, Vanshika, Kishore, Anuj. Welcome everyone. Hi Udit. This is one book I think you would really, really love to review. And if you can get your hands on M and the Big Home, that would be great. By the way, we did give this book at some point during one of our quizzes. And it's just it'll just be a nice, the way he captures, Bombay life, and not Bombay life in the glamorous sense, but in a typical middle class housing cooperative society, and the challenges that people face is just something else. He makes it, and yet his love for Bombay comes across so beautifully that he's a genius. He's really, really brilliant at that. So yes, so delighted to be giving Jerry Pinto's book. And with that, Erica, if you've made it in well in time, you can now enjoy the first 3 poll questions. Very simple ones. And again, no right answers for this one. There are no marks. So you can just feel free to answer whatever you feel works best for you. This is the only part where probably your opinion matters. So there's been a lot of talk and experiment about a 4-day week. Just wanted to know, and apparently it's been a success. Just wanted to know, what are your views on it? Is it like when you love your work, these things don't really matter, or a 5-day week makes sense? This is not going to last. We'll go to the extreme, or finally something that makes sense. Okay, so it's clearly something that makes sense, gives us more time to just get our bearings right. And I hear those who say, listen, sometimes time is also relative, right? If you like what you're doing, you love what you're doing, it really doesn't matter. And there will be phases maybe when you give too much of yourself to work. And sometimes when it's lighter, you can just step back. And sometimes I just wish we were a little more objective about these things. Six of us believe this is not going to last. Again, sometimes it was really, really fashionable at one time to say, I slept in the office. There was just so much happening. And now I think if somebody says it, people look at that person like, are you out of your mind? And 9 of us feel that, no, 5-day week is best. It's enough. We get 2 days to ourselves. All right. Okay, the next question is, I want to ask you about, where do you stand currently in terms of your relationship and dependency on social media channels? Is it, come on, you learn so much from these things, or I'm kind of depending less and less, so I'm not that focused on it, or I hate it, but I can't get out of it, or it's still very high, and it's not a happy place to be, but yeah. So it's nice to know that, well, it's quite interesting. This is I'm getting mixed signals here, but clearly it's the dependency on social media is kind of getting a little less for most of us. And then it's like, no, it's also a great learning tool. And it is, sometimes it does give you those cheap thrills, right? You just get, to see something funny, or you'll get an interesting factoid, or you'll get, to know something that's funny or interesting. Quite a few of us, and I kind of fall in that bucket a lot, is I hate it, but I can't get myself of it. So for one reason or the other, you're kind of dependent on it. And 6 of us are saying, oh, well, it's still very high and not too happy about it, but it is what it is. All right. We'll get into the last one, and something we wanted to ask you on all the programs that are there on the Netflix and the Hotstars, etc. Do you feel like there's an overkill, or there's too much of dark crime shows, street food shows, Indian marriage, wedding, matrimonial shows, or like stand-up comedy shows? I mean, is there a glut of any one of these? Okay, so I think we've all had enough of the Indian wedding shows. If it's not showing you the wedding itself, it's the whole process and all of that. And yeah, it seems like it's a bit much. And then stand-up and dark crime shows seems to be like too much of those, and street food shows. Yes, sometimes it is sort of a bit of an overkill. All right. So thank you all. These are very important, very, very pertinent issues that we're all dealing with in everyday lives. But, it's nice to have a little bit of levity. Now we'll get into the 10 questions, and it's complete mixed bag. So we have some health, we have some gender, we have some which don't even fall anywhere. But these are all issues that really come up from time to time in the Indian Parliament. So there is some discussion that happens on these topics. And there was one particular question, which is the first one that I was thinking a lot about, when we were watching I'm sure a lot of us were tracking it at some level or the other, and seeing the Queen's funeral, and then you see the crown, and then there are all these WhatsApp forwards going around of, it's our Kohinoor diamond which is in the crown and all of that. And then I was like, wow, come to think of it, there would be so many of our artifacts that are roaming and hanging around in different museums and country vaults and places where they shouldn't be, outside in the world except in India. So I was kind of thinking about that, and I started to read up a little bit on it, and it's quite fascinating what the findings were. And the first question of today's quiz is based on that. So we'll get into it now. And the question is, recovery of stolen artifacts from centrally protected monuments and sites till date. The ones that we've managed to get back, is that 99,911 objects, or 911 objects, 91 objects, or 9,911 objects? What do you think that number would be? So the 11 of you who went for the least number, which is 91, you are correct. Now, in the Parliament, there was a question asked by one of the MPs on what's happening as far as a lot of these antiques that have been smuggled out for one reason or the other, and they've been found in, outside. They've been identified. What is the government doing to bring those objects back? Now, while a large number of them have been identified, and we're talking since independence, only 91 objects have been recovered and made their way back to India. So we've not done very well in terms of securing our antiquities. But clearly, this is going to be, I think, something that probably would come up from time to time when, two countries are talking to each other. And hopefully, we'll see some more objects making their way back to the country. So with this, we'll take a look at the scoreboard and see where we're at. And it's about who got the answer right and who was the fastest. And it was Kartikeya who was really enthusiastic today. Udit's next, followed by Krish, Rohit, and Dipankar. Okay, we'll get into the next question. And the double points for this one. Risk of dementia can be potentially reduced by better management of two other diseases. Is this depression and high blood pressure, Parkinson's and arthritis, diabetes and hypertension, or osteoporosis and strokes, or cerebrovascular diseases? So the 9 of you that said diabetes and hypertension, who would have thought? Yes. These two diseases, if controlled and managed well, can actually have an impact on dementia. So when we talk about, and there is this huge issue that is going on, which is on non-communicable diseases. So we talk about communicable diseases, which is like tuberculosis, etc., and even COVID-19 for that matter. But then when we talk about the non-communicable diseases, which is really cardiovascular, hypertension, diabetes, cancers, these are rising. These are extremely expensive to treat. And we need to really have a more comprehensive health program to manage these things. A lot of this is linked to diet, to lifestyle, to, issues that really we will have to figure out how we're going to manage on our own. So dementia is clearly linked to diabetes and hypertension. All right. Just by way of information, one of the important things is, and this is where issues like there's a diabetes drug which in general would have been out of reach of most of the middle class people, but has been brought in the list of the national essential items, which then ensures that the price comes down and this drug is more accessible to more people with diabetes. All right, we'll take a look at the scoreboard again. It's Mukesh now, followed by Dipankar, Prem, Arya, and Ravi, and we'll get into the next question. This is a true or false and double points for this one. All proceedings in the Supreme Court of India and High Courts only, has to be in English language. Is the statement true or false? So this statement is true. All proceedings in the Supreme Court and in High Courts has to be in English language as per the Constitution of India. In the lower courts, there can be the use of Hindi. Again, using any other language needs to have the permission of the governor. It's a much longer process. And clearly, when we talk about English as a working language, it's not really something that everybody uses. So somewhere there is a disconnect, and it's going to be a bit of a challenge to see how we're able to get the official languages a part of the legal system so that more common people have access to the language. All right. So very quickly, we'll take a look at the scoreboard, and it's now Dipankar, Mukesh, Mayur, Prem, and Soni. And we'll get into the next question. This is the puzzle question, and double points for this one. 181 is the Women Helpline. We're asking you to rank the states and union territories from high to low based on the number of calls that you think this helpline would have received. And the states and union territories are Gujarat, Punjab, Delhi, and Uttar Pradesh. You need to think about where do you think most of the calls would have come from, and then rank those states from high to low. "181 was introduced in 2018, and we're asking you the number of calls from inception till this is approximately, I think, March 2022. Not bad. Actually, 10 of you got this right, which is fantastic. So Delhi lodged or actually recorded the highest number of calls made to the 181 helpline, followed by Punjab, Gujarat, and surprisingly, you know, one always worries that the minute you add UP in the mix, somehow, because of the general density of population, the numbers are always the highest. But clearly, 181 in a positive way is being made use of by the states, and that's great. And I think this is something, in fact, most states subsequently have gone into activating their own common, it's got to be a common helpline number managed by each state. So most states have actually gone ahead and activated the women helpline, which is a good thing. So here we have the scoreboard, and it's still led by Dipankar, Mukesh, Mayur, Madan, and Prem. So interesting to see where this is going. Double points for this one. India's immunization program covers 11 vaccine preventable diseases. The 12th one is necessary where this disease is an endemic. Is it anthrax? Is it black fever or kala azar, yellow fever, or Japanese encephalitis? 11 vaccines all over the country. The 12th one only specific, and yes, it is to Japanese encephalitis. It is still prevalent in a lot of places in Bihar, Jharkhand, and this 12th vaccine is specific for those regions. 11 are standard across the rest of the country, and the 12th one is only for places where this disease is endemic. All right, I think Kala Azar kind of gets is sort of top of mind, has top of mind recall, so we went for that one. Yellow fever, clearly not in India yet. It's more relevant, especially when you're going to Africa. All right, we'll take a look at the scoreboard, and there's a bit of a tumble. It's Arya, Madan, Dipankar, Shetty, and Rohit, and we'll get into the next true or false. Under the Universal Immunization Program, vaccines are provided free of cost to children and pregnant women nationwide. Is this true or false? And are there any hidden costs as well? So we're saying, is this absolutely, completely free of cost? Okay, so I think that's great that everyone knows, and please spread the word, because I think just on this basis, no one really should miss their immunization rounds, especially young children and pregnant women who need to get their tetanus shots, which is part of the vaccination, universal immunization coverage. Now, the best investment that for that matter, any parent can do for their children or any government can do for their citizens is the vaccine, because you really don't have to suffer meningitis or pneumonia or tuberculosis. It is really not necessary because you have vaccines that can prevent it. And therefore, I think when we talk about what are the best investments that can be made, immunization clearly is one of those, because it allows you to have a better quality of life and a longer life, of course. All right. So here we have it. It's now Madan, Dipankar, Shetty, Rohit, and Arya, and Bharat is the highest climber with this question. Another true or false, and double points for this one. Ministry of Ayush recognizes acupressure therapy as an alternative medicine. Is the statement true or false? Yes, the 10 of you that got this and said false, you are absolutely correct. So the Ministry of Ayush still does not recognize acupressure therapy as an alternative medicine. I think these things are very important, because this whole, allowing Ayush practitioners to function alongside allopathic doctors is causing a lot of heartburn. And I think one of the things we have to be extremely clear about is just the scientific, temperament that each of us need to have, especially when it comes to health, because sometimes a little, for lack of better word, going for something which is probably supposed to be something that works and actually compounds certain diseases or illnesses can be actually catastrophic and is not something that we should be taking very lightly. So always make sure you're asking the right doctor, you're thinking through these things very, very objectively and with a very strong scientific line of questioning. All right. Okay, so we'll have a look at the scoreboard. It's a very, very bouncy one. It's Arya now back there with Mukesh, Madan, Dipankar, and Shetty. And we have a couple more questions, double points for this one. People live the longest in the state. We're talking about life expectancy at birth. Is it Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, or Maharashtra? Yes, Kerala it is. People here clearly live to the age of 75.3 years and is clearly the highest among all the states in India. Back to the scoreboard, and it's now Madan, Arya, Shetty, Nirav, and Anjay. And we'll get into the next question. This state has the lowest life expectancy in the country, or people live the shortest lives here? Is it Jharkhand, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, or Odisha? So 16 of you said Chhattisgarh, and you are right. And just to make my point, the life expectancy in Kerala is 75.3. The life expectancy in Chhattisgarh is 65.2. So this is a lottery of life, right? So if you're born in Kerala, chances are you're going to live 10 years more than if you were born in Chhattisgarh. So really, I mean, these are things, and this is the same country, by the way. It's the same era. It's the same everything. But, that's really the card of fate that's been dealt to you. Okay, so we'll take a look at the scoreboard again. It's Madan, Arya, Shetty, Prem, Padmaja. I've noticed this, the last question always, there's a little bit of a churn and then the podium throws up something completely different. And I'm super excited to know what's at the end on the podium. Double points for this question. This state has the highest number of passport holders. Is it Kerala, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, or Uttar Pradesh? Okay, so 19 of you said Kerala, and you are right. Also has the highest number of passport offices in the country. Okay, so with this, we're going to take a look at the podium and see what we have there. And don't go anywhere because Meenal's going to come with her set of questions. Like I said, it's Aniket who's in the lead. Nirav is in second place. And in the number one spot this week, we have Madan. So congratulations to the three of you. And Sneha and Dipankar are runner-ups. And Dipankar was just playing so well. And I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be interesting. You know, he'll just kind of come up at the end. But we always have surprises like this. And Nirav, Madan, Aniket, I hope you enjoy the Education of Yuri. Please don't forget to put your details in the Google form, which will be circulated at the end, but don't go anywhere. I'm just going to stop sharing because Meenal's going to come on. And again, we're going to have another round of very, very interesting questions. Hi, Meenal.
Hi, Rashmi. Hello, good evening. Welcome to all of you. I think you just had a lovely game of facts English, and now we're hoping कि three of you win this quiz and go happy with another book. तो आज की जो हमारी हिंदी किताब है उसके बारे में मैं आपको थोड़ी देर में अभी बताऊंगी. But I would just like you to tell me if there is जो गेम पिन आपके साथ चैट बॉक्स में अभी भी शेयर किया जाएगा पुष्पा, and till the time you enter the game pin, I'll just tell you it's going to be very simple. If you feel that Hindi is a little difficult for you to understand, I will help you you know, get your answers very quickly because I'll translate that as soon as possible. So जो चैट बॉक्स में आपके साथ गेम पिन शेयर किया गया है, it's 89811029, और ये आप जल्दी से एंटर करके क्विज में आ सकते हैं. मैं कुछ ही देर में अपनी स्क्रीन शेयर करूंगी, बट आई विल जस्ट टेल यू अबाउट द बुक दैट वी हैव फॉर यू टुडे. तो आज की जो हमारी किताब है ये लिखी है राहुल संस्कृत्यायन ने, और इस किताब का नाम है वोल्गा से गंगा. तो ये जो किताब है, इट इज एक्चुअली अ 1943 कलेक्शन of 20 historical fiction stories. So, you know, 20 stories which are of historical relevance, and these are all fiction. और ये जो ऑथर हैं राहुल संस्कृतायन, उन्होंने बहुत सारा ट्रैवल किया. He's traveled a lot, and while traveling he's actually mastered many languages. He learned so many languages. और क्योंकि वो इतना ट्रैवल करते थे तो उन्होंने बहुत ही डाइवर्स कल्चर के बारे में जाना है, एंड विच इज व्हाट ही इज यूज्ड इन दीज सेट ऑफ स्टोरीज. सो ये जो किताब है वोल्गा से गंगा, वोल्गा इज द लार्जेस्ट रिवर इन यूरोप, और जो ये इस किताब में जो स्टोरीज हैं दे कलेक्टिवली ट्रेस द माइग्रेशन ऑफ आर्यंस फ्रॉम यूरेशिया टू रीजन्स around Volga River, and then their movement towards Hindu Kush and Himalayas in India, and you know, finally their spread to Indo-Gangetic plains. So this is what the book is about, and it's interesting because the big book starts in around 2000 BC, और जब तक ये एंड इसके अंत तक जो किताब है उसका जो टाइम पीरियड है, इट इज द ईयर 1942, which is the year when Mahatma Gandhi called for Quit India movement. So बहुत ही historical reference है इस किताब में, and three of you will win this book. So now I'm just going to share my screen so that we know who all are here with us. Okay, it's actually great to see you all again. I hope you enjoy the quiz. कोई poll questions नहीं है because you've just played a quiz, so you know exactly, you're right in the form. So what we'll do is we'll directly get into the quiz. और कहीं अगर आपको लगे कि कुछ भी problem है, then you can just put it in the chat box, and Shweta will help you out. ओके, तो चलिए स्टार्ट करते हैं. There's somebody who's just sitting around. Quickly enter the game pin, enter your name and just begin with the quiz. ओके, तो आज का जो हमारा पहला क्वेश्चन है, यू विल बी एबल टू सी इट वेरी सून. ये लास्ट सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल्स का एडिट है. एंड वील बिगिन विद आवर फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन फॉर टुडे. डबल पॉइंट्स मिलेंगे आपको इसके. दुनिया भर में इंटरनेट का उपयोग करने वाले व्यक्तियों का प्रतिशत, परसेंटेज ऑफ इंडिविजुअल्स यूजिंग इंटरनेट वर्ल्ड वाइड. आपके हिसाब से क्या ये 83% है, 73% है, 63% है या 53% है? ये हम दुनिया भर में बात कर रहे हैं कि कितने ऐसे व्यक्ति हैं जो इंटरनेट का उपयोग करते हैं. Okay, 19 of you got this correct. 63% of the people worldwide are using internet. और ये जो internet है, the internet uptake actually accelerated during the pandemic. 2019 की अगर हम बात करें तो around 54% of the entire world's population was actually using internet. But 2021 में it rose to about 63%. So which is the recent data that we have. और इस क्वेश्चन के बाद हमारा स्कोरबोर्ड, here we are with double points. जितेंद्र, किशोर, नीरव, नाइसी एंड अनिकेत, आपने अपनी लीड ले ली है स्कोरबोर्ड पे. लेट्स सी कि नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चंस के बाद ये नाम हमें यहाँ दिखेंगे कि नए नाम आएंगे. और चलते हैं हमारे अगले क्वेश्चन की तरफ. 2021 में ऊर्जा से संबंधित कार्बन उत्सर्जन अब तक के उच्चतम स्तर पर पहुंचा था. Energy related carbon dioxide emissions reached the highest level ever in 2021. क्या आपके हिसाब से ये सही है या गलत? We're talking about carbon emissions. They reached their highest level ever in the year 2021. ये सही है and 36 of you got this correct. और जो एनर्जी related carbon dioxide emissions it increased by 6% in 2021, which was actually the highest ever. So किसी भी साल में जो भी increase हुआ है carbon dioxide emissions में, 2021 में वो 6% तक था और वो सबसे ज्यादा था अब तक का. And with this हमारा scoreboard once again. I think Sejal has just entered the scoreboard, but we have Kishore, Jitendra, Neerav, Aniket and Sejal here. चलते हैं हमारे अगले क्वेश्चन की तरफ. महासागर वैश्विक वार्षिक कार्बन उत्सर्जन का लगभग 1/4 भाग अवशोषित यानी कि absorb करता है. So we're talking about the ocean that absorbs around 1/4 of the global annual carbon dioxide emissions. क्या आपके हिसाब से ये सही है या गलत? Again, yeah, we have 30 of you who got this correct. I think जो carbon dioxide emissions है, they have been increasing. और जो हमारे धरती के जो oceans है, महासागर हैं, उनको वो बहुत ज्यादा कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड अब्सॉर्ब करते हैं. लगभग 1/4 भाग जो है वो अब्सॉर्ब करते हैं. एंड इंक्रीजिंग एसिडिफिकेशन इज थ्रेटनिंग मरीन लाइफ. और इसकी वजह से जो मरीन लाइफ है, इट इज बीइंग हार्म्ड इन अ वेरी अब्रप्ट मैनर. एंड जो ओशन की क्लाइमेट चेंज कैपेबिलिटी होती है, इसकी वजह से वो रुक रही है. और इस क्वेश्चन के बाद हमारा स्कोरबोर्ड, वी हैव न्यू नेम्स ऑन द स्कोरबोर्ड नाउ. जितेंद्र, अनुज, पारस, निहारिका एंड आदर्श. दिस इज एक्साइटिंग. आई होप यू आल्सो फील कि क्योंकि नए नाम आते हैं तो आपको यू आर होपफुल, यू नीड टू स्टे टिल द एंड टू सी व्हाट हैपेंस. एंड आई डोंट थिंक आई हैव अ पजल क्वेश्चन, सो दैट माइट बी अ गुड थिंग फॉर यू. तो चलते हैं हमारे अगले क्वेश्चन की तरफ. डबल पॉइंट्स मिलेंगे, सो बी वेरी केयरफुल. विश्व के मछुआरों का प्रतिशत जो छोटे पैमाने के मत्स्योद्योग फिशरीज यानी कि फिशरीज में कार्यरत हैं. परसेंटेज ऑफ द वर्ल्ड्स फिशर्स who are employed in small scale fisheries. Is it 90%, 30%, 70% और 50%? जो fishermen हैं around the world, कितने प्रतिशत ऐसे हैं who are employed in small scale fisheries? %90%. That's actually the majority of fishermen are actually they're employed in small scale, very small scale fisheries, and they need accelerated support due to the pandemic. क्योंकि pandemic की वजह से सभी industries बहुत hard hit हुई हैं. But because these fishermen are actually belong to the small scale industries, small scale fisheries, they need a very accelerated support. So with this, our scoreboard once again, and we have Anuj, Paras, Adarsh, Niharika. Gaurav, I think here is just made his way to the scoreboard. And Dipankar is the highest climber. Let's see if you can make it to the scoreboard by the next question. इसके भी आपको डबल पॉइंट्स मिलेंगे. विश्व के 90% वनों की कटाई किसके कारण होती है? माइनिंग, कृषि विकास यानी कि एग्रीकल्चर एक्सपेंशन, निर्माण स्थल यानी कि कंस्ट्रक्शन साइट्स, रोडवेज के लिए यानी कि फॉर रोडवेज. Almost 90% of global deforestation is due to which of these? Mining, agriculture expansion, construction sites, or for roadways? It is for the agriculture expansion. जो हमारे विश्व के 90% वन है, क्योंकि population बढ़ रही है, the agricultural, the food needs are increasing, and so agriculture expansion is at its max, और इसकी वजह से 90% वनों की कटाई हो रही है, यानी कि deforestation हो रही है. With this, okay, same names, just a slight shift. So we'll go on to our next question. आने वाले दशकों यानी कि डेकेड्स में 40,000 प्रजातियों के विलुप्त यानी कि एक्सटिंक्ट होने का खतरा है. 40,000 species are at risk of extinction over the coming decades. क्या ये सही है या गलत? ये बिल्कुल सही है, और 34 of you got this correct. About 40,000 species are estimated to actually be extinct in the next coming years, in the next decades. So with this, okay, I think Ayush is here on our scoreboard. We have Paras, Anuj, Adarsh, Gaurav, and Ayush. चलते हमारे अगले क्वेश्चन की तरफ. दुनिया की 1/3 आबादी रात में अपने पड़ोस में अकेले चलने से डरती है. 1/3 of the world's population fear walking alone in their neighborhood at night. क्या ये सही है या गलत? ये बिल्कुल सही है, and it's actually mostly women, of course, who are scared of walking alone at night in their own neighborhood. So considering if you're just talking about a person's neighborhood, और उसमें भी वो अकेले चलने से रात में उन्हें डर लगता है, and it's a very huge number, 1/3 of the world's population actually, mostly women who fear walking alone in their neighborhoods at night. Same names, you got this correct. So चलते हैं हमारे अगले क्वेश्चन की तरफ. 2015 और 2020 के बीच वैश्विक हत्या यानी कि होमिसाइड दर में गिरावट आई है. क्या ये सही है या गलत? The global homicide rate declined between 2015 and 2020. It's actually true, and so the decline is by 5.2% between 2015 and 2020. ऑल्दो ये डिक्लाइन तो है, लेकिन ये जो डिक्लाइन का रेट है 5.2%, it's a very small decline, and it falls short of the significant reduction which is required by 2030 to meet the Sustainable Development Goals. Okay, I think, yeah, so we have the same names on our scoreboard. For once, I thought maybe there's some issue with my internet that nobody moved on the scoreboard, but okay. Let's go on to our next question. 16 में से लगभग एक व्यवसाय को सरकारी अधिकारों से रिश्वत के अनुरोध प्राप्त हुए हैं, यानी कि almost 1 in 16 businesses has received bribe requests from public officials. क्या ये सही है या गलत? Okay, 13 of you got this correct. ये गलत है. It's not 1 in 16, but 1 in 6, which is a lot more. 6 में से एक जो business है, it has actually received requests for bribes, and corruption जो है वो हर एक region में पाया जाता है. But if you consider it as per the data, it's almost 1 in 6 businesses that has received bribe requests from public officials. So with this, we move on to our scoreboard. I think we're on our last question now. So we have Anuj, Paras, Adarsh, Gaurav, and Ayush. Jitendra is making a comeback. You've got one question, and I motivate you to win this. So let's go on to our last question, and then we'll see our podium and who has won this amazing book. डबल पॉइंट्स इसके मिलेंगे आपको. एंजाइटी और डिप्रेशन के वैश्विक प्रसार में 2020 में X% की वृद्धि हुई. कितने प्रतिशत की वृद्धि हुई, यानी कि इंक्रीज हुआ? The global prevalence of anxiety and depression increased by X% in the year 2020. आपके ऑप्शंस है 35%, 25%, 5% और 15%. Eighteen of you got this one correct. और जो ये 2020 की अगर हम बात करें, the global prevalence of anxiety and depression, it increased by 25%. और this was actually particularly among young people and women. और जो younger generation है और महिलाएं हैं, उनमें ये ज्यादा पाया गया. So with this, we've come to an end of our quiz and also the Sustainable Development Goal specific quizzes, themed quizzes. तो चलते हैं हमारे podium की तरफ so that we can have a look at the winners today. आज के quiz के तीसरे स्थान पर है आदर्श. On the second position we have Paras, and हमारे quiz के विजेता winner is Anuj. Congratulations to all three of you. हमारे आज के runners up हैं Gaurav and Ayush. I think you played really well. और आप अपनी book claim कर सकते हैं with the link that is provided to you in the chat box. अपनी book जल्द से जल्द claim कीजिए, and if you feel that there's anything that you want to ask us, any query or any feedback that you want to give us, you can obviously anytime write to us at connect@indiafactquiz.com, and we'll be sure to help you, to reach out to you, because we really like reading your emails, and we're just glad to hear from you. So thank you all so much for joining us. We hope that you have a great weekend ahead, and we'll see